Hey guys, what's up? It's Uchi here, and I'm back with SVN Shippy. If you want to say hello.
Hello.
And today we'll be going over the best deck in format ? And we believe it's only one of two decks. Potentially there's the Western Spice and there's the secret sauce that some people can bring up. I'm pretty sure a lot of people were thinking, Black or Grey would just be 100% undisputed, and then someone came up with another cross list that did very well. I still think Black or Grey before ban list is probably best deck in format, but there is room for surprises, and there's more room for us to figure out the format because we have the cards after Japan. But Shippy's gonna go first, and he's gonna go through his hunters list, which is basically a better cross, but plays out a bit differently. And would you like to go through the cards?
Sure. So Hunters basically is similar to Crosshair, except instead of playing and crossing big dudes, you are digivolving and then placing digital sources underneath by tapping your payments and putting the cards underneath that way. So rather than having set crosses, you now have weird stacks of lots of different colors of Digimon. But we'll start off with the egg and the rookies. So the egg, there are two ones that you could technically use with Hunters, but they both involve having the save in its card text that are inherited. So out of the two, one is just the superior one by far. So it's a simple on deletion. If this Digimon has save in its card text, draw one. And the save can be from anywhere in the black Digiball spot to being its on deletion effect of save. So as long as it is on the card text somewhere, it counts for the inherited effect. The first rookie in the list is Dracmon. He pretty simple on play effect, where if you've got tamers in your hand that don't need to put on the field, you can just put them on the bottom and draw some new cards. Pretty decent, not something I'm going to be using all the time, and kind of why I put him at 3 in this list. But his inherited is pretty good for helping your boss monsters swing over or just swing over or through things in security in order to not die and then have to save the resources. Anything with save in its card deck, that's really very good, very generic. Always bigger DPU is always better for swinging at security with. And then you've got Gumdramon. This dude lets you draw one by placing a different Digimon card just a Digimon card with save in its under one of your tamers on field. Just a nice way to draw one if you ever need to do that. And all of these rookies, well, apart from the one, so 3 of the rookies I'm running in this list have a Digicross -2 where you can just place anything the same underneath them. And instead of a 4-cost rookie, they're a 2-cost rookie, which is solid. It means you can run off with slightly less memory than expected, and then immediately build into a stack that may not have cost you any memory, depending on how many tamers and how many things under your tamers you have. We'll go over that later. And then his inherited effect is just a simple: when attacking, if this card Digimon has saved in its card text, draw one. Again, really good generic draw.
Yeah.
And Spikemon also has the same inherited. And then Spikemon's on play. Just you can add one card with Digimon with save in its card text from under one of your tamers to your hand. So, for example, say you had some somewhat bad luck early in the game, and for some reason you're maybe boss monster, you're level 5 or Retrogramon on superior mode, or you're invested on level 4, just ended up underneath one of your tamers instead of where you wanted it, which would be in your hand. You can use him, you can play him, and just get it back from there in order to continue your plays. And then, like Gumdramon has when attacking, draw one. And then the final rookie, just a simple 2-of, is Kakimon, who
Pencil
just
Boy.
has the Pencil Boy the winner of that regional creation a long time ago now. That has the one attacking. If this Digimon has save, this card effects your opponent's Digimon gets -2 games per turn. Not the best, but outside of the first 3 rookies, you're probably not going to be running any of the other ones, realistically. I mean, I think some people may run this. I don't think this come on level 3. Something crazy. We'll move on to the level 4s now anyway. So there are 4 different level 4s that this deck is running. 2 of which have a similar effect, but we'll go over one of them first. So we'll go over Damimon. Just when you Digivolve or play him, so you can cross him and play him for 3. So it's a pretty good level 4 for searching. And you can also just evolve on some things too, as long as it has save. And this guy reveals top of your cards in the deck, and you can play one ITU or Taguru that you reveal from among them, and you can place the rest. So it's a nice, easy way to play a tamer without paying the top cost of the tamer, and also getting your Digimon on board. And then his inherited just gives anything with save blocker, which I don't really think is useful for the deck. Personally, you more want to use him for the on play or when Digivolve gets some payments out deeply.
Is there like any way to give piercing in this deck? Because if it doesn't, then I guess like the blocker inherits kind of good for the mirror match. Because you don't need to I don't know which one, but I think for one of them you don't need to swing, right, to attack. So like potentially,
yes. So that will be the boss monster that we will go over, or one of the boss monsters of the deck. Erestrodramon's superior modes
maybe
lets you, if you have enough sources, swing without suspending, which means you can swing when he's already suspended.
Yeah.
So you can get 2 cheeky attacks off. That will also let you keep him unsuspended if you want to use it as a blocker. So
that's what I was thinking.
I feel like most of the time you will probably not be using it as a blocker, and you will be mostly using it for its on-play / when Digivolve.
Yeah.
And then the save effect of them is honestly really nice. So you save, and then you can place one Digimon card with save in its card set from the fresh under one of the same. So say again, you got unlucky and one of your Digimon you really need was in your security, like maybe a really early deck, and it's now in the fresh. If you play or a Digivolve with one of these guys and then it dies, you save him, and then you can take that Digimon that was in your trash and slot it onto one of your tamers as well.
That's a lot of recursion, definitely.
It is really nice. Because honestly, I think I've seen most lists will probably try to run a 4 of either Dame or the next card, which is the Shoutmon King version. Because this Shoutmon works similar to Dame, except instead of revealing the top 2 cards of the deck, you just straight up play one from your hand without paying its cost, which, again, another really nice, easy way to cheat out a tamer while getting a body on the board at the same time. And his inherited is okay. It helps you delete some floodgates or anything that's like a weird deep 4K blocker somehow.
Mechanori.
Yeah, and with combo of the Pencil Boy, technically I guess you can knock a 6K down to 4K. So if you had multiple of the pencil, so if you had 2 pencils and you're knocking it down 4K, so it's an 8K, you can now make 4K and it will go into that effect as well.
Yeah, that's kind of relevant.
Yeah, that can definitely come up. I need to practice it again. This deck against more lists that utilize 8K bodies, that I can do that too. But the final, not final, it's 2 more level 4. Let's go over Clockmon. So this guy in my list at the moment, I'm running 4 of. A lot of JP lists, so it's all around 2 or 3. In my opinion, I think he's better as a 4 because he's just really good search, and then his inherited is insane for some cheeky early swings.
Well, you're just talking about a 4K blocker, and this is one, so I guess in the mirror match.
It's true, actually, yeah. In the mirror, you would be able to delete your opponent's block card in order to not let it block. That is a good point. So on play, this guy reveals 3 cards, and you can add up to 2 Digimon cards that stay in the card deck in different colors among them to your hand. And the deck runs enough different colors that you really should hit 2 different colors off of this. Sometimes you might hit a tamer or 2 tamers. If you hit 2 tamers, that's a little feels bad. But his inherited effect just gives basically everything in this deck jamming, because it just has to have save in its card deck. So, if you wanted, you could do a cheeky. You're not probably going to put him under a rookie, but you could. And then get a cheeky swing with them next turn if they haven't been killed. But the one you're probably going to most likely put him under is the final level 4 of this list, which is Erashidramon. And this guy is a very good way to seek out a body that can swing out of nowhere, basically. So he has the when Digivolving, if this Digimon has 2 more cards, it gains Rush until the end of the turn, so that gives the whole stack Rush. It means you can then just continue evolving. So say you played out Gumdramon, crossed under him to 2, so that when you played you were going to 2, and then you evolve into a Restridramon, and I'll go over the mechanic later in the deck, but you will basically tap one of your tamers to move a source underneath. And then this guy now has, 2 plus sources, so that body that was just played now has Rush, and then you can maybe go all the way into Superior mode, which means then that also gets to swing as a level 5. Now it also has jamming, might have some other effects like killing something in 4K, drawing more cards, etc. Deck does really good at just surprise aggression out of nowhere. And now we'll move on to the much smaller count of level 5. We'll go over the Omni Shoutmon first. This guy I've put in as a 2 of, and he is nice for some surprise aggression. Because if you at least manage to get 4 sources under him, he now has +1 security, and if you have a Clockmon underneath him, he also has jamming, so he's guaranteed hitting 2 security off of a swing. And his on Digivolve is also very relevant for deleting potentially big bodies, depending on how many sources you get underneath him.
Yeah.
You choose when you remove your opponent's Digimon whose total DP adds up to 4K or less, and delete them. And for every 2 Digimon cards, evolution cards that Digimon has, you add 3K to the effect. So, for example, say you've got, say, Scumdra, you put a source under, you evolve into a Restaurant, you put a source under, so that is now 4 bodies. When the Shoutmon goes on top, you now get to delete a 10K body. Up to 10K, so if they've gone wide and it's all low DP, 10K worth of DP can be deleted. Which is very nice deletion, and then he also has the option of being aggressive, because as long as you have those 4 underneath him, he gets 2 checks.
This card also sounds like super broken for pre-release format. If you get what I mean.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because the when Digivolving is not like you need anything with save to get the deletion effect.
Okay.
So
and just naturally go all the way up into it.
Yeah, I think this card would be pretty cracked for pre-release format, and then it has the Sec Plus as well. So it's just like, yeah, pre-release format. This card will be pretty gross if you pull this.
You get 1 save tamer in order to put the 4th under him. You got level 3, level 4, so you need at least 1 way to put 1 source under him.
Yeah,
and then you're away.
I think you can have like a small, you'd be able to manage to get a small save engine going in your pre-release decks, because like all of these cards are in BT.
In every single one is
BT12.
BT12.
Yeah, BT12. So it's just like, I think it's definitely possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which one's next? Asta.
Next. But yeah, we'll go over Astamon next. So this guy, only run him as a one-off. Not always going to be the card you want to really see. He has like a really, really powerful effect and lets you go into Quartzmon for far cheaper than you probably normally would. But wouldn't always need Quartzmon. And this guy is just like a way of, again, cheating him out early until he. So, you know, so he's level 5, but he can Digivolve 5 from a Psychmon. So you can skip level 4 entirely if you really desperately need to. Say you maybe actually have, so you play a Psychmon out and you maybe cross it, and you do cost, and you evolve into this guy for 5, tapping some pain, putting some forces underneath him. His on Digivolve lets you play a level 4 or lower Digimon card saving from the bottom of one of your payments without paying memory cost. So you get another body out, search, maybe a blocker. And then if this Digimon has 4 or more Digivolution cards, this Digimon may Digivolve into a Quartzmon in your hand or under your tamer, reducing the Digivolution cost by 3 instead. So if you do meet the other requirements, don't do the first one. If you want to. So, you know, that lets you go into, so Quartzmon normally I'll briefly explain that. It's got 6 cost Evo on a green, black, or white, level 6, and then he's a 9 cost Evo from a level 5 with phase in their trait. Yeah, if that's how that's going to say. So since Astamon contains phase, it can go on top. And so he just has the effect in general to let him. But then, you know, instead of 9, it's 6, which is matching with the requirements. And then his inheritance is simple when attacking, draw 1. There are so many of these in the Phantom Hunter save cards, honestly. You get insane amounts of draw if you make the right stack.
Yeah.
So you can maybe make like 3 or 4 cards draw off of 1 twig, and then if that body dies, it doesn't matter because you just gain a hand advantage. So you can probably just do it again. Now the final level 5 is one of the boss monsters in the deck, arguably the main one, the one you will want to go into that will cause. It's got like Bagramons from the previous set, unique removal that is unavoidable unless Digimon is immune to effect. So when you Digivolve with this guy, into this guy, you place one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon under one of your opponent's other Digimon, and it's got a Digimon card, or under one of their tamers. So as long as they have something else on the field, it's either a tamer or a Digimon, this effect can trigger. If they're playing around your deck and they don't have a single tamer out, they're probably hurting themselves. And if they only always have one Digimon out, then probably also going to be hurting themselves because they're not going to be able to go as fast as you are with all of your tamers and the memory gain, roar, and everything going on. But yeah, this guy basically lets you, as long as you have, so this deck will run 4 different colored tamers. So you can target up to a level 7 if you have one of each out. Which means pretty much everything in the game is going to get removed by this effect, unless it's immune.
Yeah, I think only like D Reaper is probably the only thing I think.
Yes, because it's not level.
Yeah, I can't. I think Alphamon will have protection from it, but obviously that's not out yet. Like the new Alphamon.
It's 13
But other than that, I literally don't. I think it's probably, if not the best way of removing something in the game. It's like seconds are probably the new Shoutmon, secret rare Shoutmon in this set as well. But yeah, that's a crazy removal.
They are insane. It's like if it's not a hybrid deck, you just basically turn someone's tamer into holding a Digimon, and the rest of that stack's gotten crashed, and now it's a useless.
Yeah, pretty much.
Thing, and then you put, if they don't have a tamer out, they have a level 3 or a level 4. You basically put you put the top one underneath that level 3. The stack gets trashed, and you just kill the level 3 off the swing because you have a Shoutmon, something underneath that deletes a 4K or less. And they just lost level 6 because it went underneath a level 3.
Nice.
And they have to rebuild everything. And then his end of turn effect, once per turn, if the Digimon has 4 or more delusion cards, the Digimon can attack without suspending. This is mostly what you're going to be using for, as well as removal. It's just the fact that you get to swing twice with him every turn.
Yeah.
If your opponent doesn't get rid of him. And so that means leaving your opponent at 0 security and passing turn, you win. If they can't unblock it, you just win. Because this guy will attack.
Yeah, and he's very likely to have like sec +1 and jamming on him, so it's just kind of
exactly.
nuts. And then like the being able to attack without suspending, I think is quite relevant into the mirror match, because if they we'll get into Quartzmon in a minute, but if they Quartzmon you, you can just still like at least do some damage.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, yeah, then like with the block inherit, so it just allows flexibility to the deck, which I think is really interesting and like fun, because it gives you more options as a pilot.
Yeah, sure. Alright, so I'll go over the last Digimon of the deck, which is Quartzmon, the big level 7 beast himself.
Yeah, this card's gonna annoy a lot of people for sure.
Yeah, he is definitely going to be very obnoxious. So he's a level 7, 15k DP, Digivolve for 9 from a level 5 if the card contains save. And then his on-Digivolve effect. You suspend all your Digimon except this and suspend all tamers. And then you gain a memory for every 2 suspended Digimon and or tamers in play. So on your side of the field, there is more than likely going to be 3 to 4 tamers in the back. On your opponent's side of the field, at least 1 Digimon and at least 1 tamer by the point of the fourth one. Just doing it before they have that may be questionable, because if they can raise something up, they might be able to do with the Quartzmon.
Yeah.
As that's the only way they will be able to have something that's unsuspended.
You can definitely anticipate this this card coming out, but also at the same time, there are some decks that do play around it pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then all turns here, all Digimon except this one and all tamers can't unsuspend. So if someone has a deck built around, suspending their tamers to give effect, like maybe say Black or Grey, so he can't trigger his Yuyus, he can't, the ties can't trigger, Cool Boys can't re-trigger, all sorts of things like that, because they're all just stuck suspended until this Quartzmon is off the field. And then when attacking, you force something to suspend if your opponent can't play something so it wasn't suspended on their turn and pass it back to you, and then you swing. And then for every 5 suspended in one adult game, you practice over your opponent's fury. So again, at the time this card's coming down, there's potentially going to be, well, there could at least be 1 security card trashed by this guy. Maybe 2 if it's a mirror and you're both just going wild with tamers and Digimon. I think Quartzmon in the mirror is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah, I think this card in the mirror, even if you play it out when you have your own Arrestodramon Superior, is like kind of like, yeah, because you don't need to. You can still attack, right? With it,
Exactly.
even if it's suspended.
And then if your opponent doesn't have like a much resources or many resources, in fact, if you're the first one to Quartz, your opponent has to do something by raising, because now all their tamers are suspended, so they can't tap their tamers to add sources or anything. So I think in the mirror, the Quartzmon race is definitely how it's going to be won.
Definitely, and it's going to be interesting because, like you said earlier, and we've seen as well, there's like so many cards in this deck that you can just stack as inheritables to get draw power. So, like, very interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So now that's all the Digimon in the deck. There are no option cards that I run. I've seen some decks maybe run 1 or 2 with like the Hunters or the Arrestodramon option.
Is it like overflowing power, right?
Yes. I've seen that most run 1 or 2. I might try it out at some point, but for now I think the deck works absolutely fine without any options.
Yeah.
So the first tamer will go over you, Amano. So start of your main phase, you can place Digimon have a save in its context from under your tamer to gain a memory. Really good way early game if you don't have a Taguru out, just to try and up yourself to having at least 2 memory to getting to go into a level 4 without passing turn, and then potentially swinging with it and saving under a tamer, so that you keep some sort of momentum while you're maybe trying to find Taguru to set yourself the memory.
Yeah.
And then he has the effect. All of the Hunter Tamers have this effect, but it is just during your turn when you Digivolve into a Digimon card with save in its card text. You can suspend this tamer and place 1 card under your tamers, spend it, and you can take 1 card from any of your tamers. And place it at the bottom of your card, the Digimon that's Digivolving, and reduce the Digivolve cost by 1, which is also why this deck is insane, because if you have enough cards underneath, you are going to go into a level 2 for nothing, into a level 2? What am I talking about? Level 4 for nothing, and into a level 5 for nothing. And then, you just gain so much advantage off of that, and you can put all sorts of effects under. You can put more draw under so that you gain the cards back that you've just put underneath this stack. You can put jamming so that it's on the dime, it's a swing. Put the deletion to minus 4k, minus 2k DP, all sorts underneath. And then Taiki, who similar to you has a start of your main phase effect, except instead of gaining memory, it is you place one underneath to draw one. So you are just putting 1 down in order to draw more to get deeper into your deck to have mirrors find the quartz one, and other things like that. And you similarly have the same your turn effect as you, as I said. And then Taguru is just a memory setter. So he's a nice generic memory setter, 4 cost play, and then also has the same effect as the other 2. And the final tamer of the deck is the old clock shop man. This man is one of the tamers you probably want to play last, unless you need to use him for searching, since he's also a very good searcher. So for 3 cost, you play it, you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, 1 Digimon card save, and 1 Hunter in its trade. So you're basically guaranteed, if with the amount of cards in the deck, you should pull a Digimon and potentially almost every search with this guy. And then his main effect is if you have 4 or more tamers to play, like tamer, one of the Digimon will save and its card text gains security attack +1 to the town.
Yeah, that security +1 is pretty cracked.
Exactly. So, like, say you put this on an Arrest Digimon, he is now swinging for 4 checks with jamming, basically, because you'll swing, you'll do your 2 checks, you'll pass turn by doing something else, and then he's going to do 2 more checks. And then you now just either maybe you hit earlier in the game, and now your opponent's at 0 security, or you've put them down to 1 security if you can't secure somehow.
Yeah, I was going to say I really like your tamer lineup because you have the 4 you and the 4 Taiki and then the 3-3, because like you and Taiki kind of have like similar abilities.
Mm-hmm.
You have your memory gain engine, your draw engine, and then you just have like the other 2 just to help you gain extra memory, like from memory setter, and then old clock shot man to give you +1. So it's just like, it's actually kind of nuts how much this deck can do and how much draw power it has. Is absolutely insane.
It's just so much inbuilt draw power. Like, for early game, you can put yourself a bit low on cards if you're a bit crazy, because I've been testing where turn 1 you evolve into a rookie and raising, and then you maybe play one of the level 4s and you slot something underneath it to make it a 3 cost, and then say it was a Shoutmon King version that you did that with, and then you play a tamer from your hand, you're just sat there now with like 1 card, or 2.
I think like the consistency of this deck is what makes it such a good deck. It might not, like, for example, it's weird because on like a local level, you have people who play things like different types of decks, more for fun decks, or for decks that just properly hard counter this. But if you're gonna go 8 rounds, like this is definitely a good idea to take, because the amount of draw power you're gonna have, like even if you open badly, you probably can just bring it back, because you can just draw like so many cards from your deck, and the more you draw, like the more piloting opportunities you develop for yourself. So like really interesting for sure. I think a lot of decks get run over by like the bottom tamer effect, bottom decking like some, well, not bottom decking but bottom something, like moving something underneath a tamer. So that's like quite an interesting effect. And like the quartz one as well, it's like really strong control effects if you can't play aggro as well. So yeah. Do you have anything else to say? Because you've tested this deck a little bit, right?
I have tested it a little bit. But I've seen most lists run maybe only 2 to 3 clock command, and I put him at 4 because I was just like, the search is good, the inheritable is something you always want to see. But I can see him going down to 3, and you maybe up damn on or down on conversion up to 4, just so you have more ways of playing things out.
Yeah, I do like the jamming. I think that's pretty relevant. So I definitely
more testing, and we'll see where that goes.
Okay. So we'll move on to the second deck if you're ready. So the second deck that we believe that will be tier 1 in this format, or the best deck in this format potentially, is Bilzamon. So this is actually quite a rough version of Bilzamon for me. This is more of like how I'm gonna start testing it. I've been playing like a decent amount of the version that we have available to us now, and I've piloted it to 2. I know it's not like crazy, but like I've piloted it quite well at locals, so I'm enjoying it as a purple fan. Like I've been playing purple since purple was my first deck. I played pretty much purple every format. After like the serious competitions end, it's usually like the deck that I go to train and like play for fun is like usually a purple deck. So I'm quite excited that we have like a really big meta relevant, potentially best deck of format like purple deck. There's a few things that I feel like you can tech in, but we'll just go over that, and then I'll go through tech choices like later on. So we have I like to call it the non-negotiable four of imp ones, and that is the mill free, the BT2 imp one. This card is just really good. For the eggs, I don't have it up here, but it's just 4 Pagu, 1 Yarmon, because I think Pagu is still the best egg, and I think with Yarmon you can get into a problem of like if your opponent doesn't kill your stack, you can potentially start milling yourself a bit too much. But like yeah, Impmon in particular, like the trash the top 3 cards of your deck if you have Pagu underneath, which you're probably gonna have. That's just trash 5, and then you can just get like a whole bunch of memory gain or a whole bunch of other effects that are really helpful for progressing your game. That's why I think it's a non-negotiable 4 of. I just think it's just so important to start your trashing engine, and like let's say even if you mill the EX2 Bilzamon, that helps you play an Impmon out from your trash. If you put this out, a lot of the time your opponent doesn't want to kill it, so you can usually get like a cheeky chip in with this as well, because they don't want to play into your mill effects. The second 4 of that I think is non-negotiable is EX2 Impmon. You don't really care about its on-play effect, even though it can come up, especially in this deck, because I'm running 4 Iron Mako and quite a few Bilzamon, and it's Bilzamon in its name, so you can take the new Bilzamon X antibody or blast mode from this card. But I think you're mostly using it you really want it to just be milled, and you can even mill it. You can even put it on top of your deck with Iron Mako to mill a further 3 cards if you don't have anything good to put on top of your deck as well. So you can like you can just put EX2 on top, Imp 1 and pray, and hopefully the mill gods will provide. Then you have the inheritable, which is if this Digimon has Bilzamon in its name, it gets plus 3000 power. There's a lot of DP gain in this deck, and I think that's really good for purple, because you used to, like, I'm talking way back, like maybe BT6, BT5, you played like Lilith Loop. If you're playing against like black Cranium on blockers, it was like kind of hard because you couldn't really get over anything, and then all you have is deletion effects, so you couldn't really get rid of like Cranium on. So it's just like nice to actually be able to swing over anything big if it ever comes up. But a lot of the time you're gonna already like Billsmon is kind of big, and like there's a lot of DP boost in this, like potentially you could run. So like I think it's fine. The plus 3000 is, you can give or take it. If you want it in the stack, at least it's there, sort of thing. And then you have the most cracked Impmon in this deck, which is Star Deck Impmon. If you have 20 more cards in your trash, this Digimon may Digivolve into a Billsmon from your trash for the memory cost of free, ignoring Digivolution requirements. That is such a dumb card. I don't know who decided to print it, but this card really lets you play so aggro with this deck. You don't even care about what you're milling, because all you need is 20 in trash, and if you have 20 in trash, you're probably going to have a Billsmon in there somewhere. Whether it's the starter deck or EX2, you know, that will entirely like depend on the situation, what you need. Sometimes it's good to clear board with this card, but like I wouldn't say it's easy to get into 20 in trash. I've heard a lot of content creators say it's like, oh, turn 3 you can get easily into 20 in trash. I don't know. I don't believe that's like necessarily true, but just like being able to like late game swing, go into Billsmon, and potentially even playing like multiple out off of stacking your own EX2 Billsmon on top of your deck with Iron Makos. It's like it's really good. It's such a good card. I cannot stress how much this is like a non-negotiable 4-off. You definitely need this in your deck as a 4-off. The Inherit's nice. If it comes up, it comes up. I mean, most of the time, I guess you'll be using it to kill like Gazimon. So I believe this Inherit would kill a Gazimon before your starter deck Billsmon would resolve, so you would still get the memory gain off the starter deck Billsmon. And then we have some new, well, we have like some other Impmons. These are a bit more the flexi spots. This is a bit more dependent on how you are as a player. But I have a one of BT6 Impmon. You may trash this one card in your hand. If you do, you can take back a 7 Great Demons Lord or 3 Muskets from your trash to your hand. You're only using it for the 7 Great Demon Lords effect, which you run like, as you can see, you're running all of these cards have Demon Lord, so it's pretty good for recursion. Late game, you might just need to play like hard play this to be able to get back a blast mode, for example, if it's in the trash, just to be able to evo back on top of it. Or you can there's some cool combos, like you can use EX2 in one, stack it on top of your security with Iron Mako, mill your security, not security, your deck, and then mill your deck, play out Impmon from the trash, trash one card in your hand, take back like a key piece for later that you're planning to do something with. So I really like it. I think it's pretty good. And then you have the new Impmon. So this card's not out yet. It's going to be out in BT12. You can Digivolve from 0 on Impmon, or you can Evo on 0 on a level 2. On play when Digivolving. So it's like we have quite a few new guys at locals. So if you're new and you've picked up the Billsmon starter decks, if it says on play and when Digivolving, it's up to you which one you want to do it as. So if you play it from your hand, you can do it. If you evolve into it, then you can do it. And the only time you're going to resolve the when Digivolving effect is if you evolve it on top of it in one. By trashing one option card from your hand, you may return one Digimon that's evil, wizard, or demon lord from its traits from your trash back to your hand. And then it has an inheritable when attacking. Trash the top 2 cards of your deck. The inheritable is really nice, and so is the recursion. And there's a few option cards that you like to go into the trash, but we'll get into them a bit later. Well, that's the rookie lineup. There's 15 rookies in this deck. I don't know if I'm going to keep it at 15, but I really like having the high rookie count. Like, again, if you're going to play 8 rounds in a regional or in a big tournament setting, it's really nice just to have that many rookies, so you know that you're always gonna open like well, sort of thing. Especially 15 rookies with Mulligan, bruh. If you don't open a rookie, that's just crazy. You got bad luck. And we're gonna go into the level 4s. There's only 8 level 4s. With this deck, it's weird with the ratios because you have a lot of recursion as well, and then you have the warp digivolve from the level 3, and then going from the trash. You don't really like need to build so linear with this deck. So you have 4 Wizardmon. This card, you don't necessarily like. You usually, before in like the way you play it, Buildsmon, now you don't ever pretty much evolve into this card. You want to evolve into your Witchmons, but we're not running any Witchmons anymore. That's because you'll see why in a minute. But this Wizardmon, if it gets trashed from a mill effect from your deck, you gain a memory. So you can either put it there with Iron Mako. It's basically just making like, it basically makes level 4s for free. It makes level 5s 1 cost, so it's pretty strong. And then or if it just gets randomly milled, it's great. Like you just gain a memory out of nowhere, which is really nice. And then it has a when attacking, you may reveal 1 purple card from your hand and place it on top of your deck. So that's really good with some cards in the deck. We can go over one we just looked at recently, which is Itmon X. When attacking, trash top 2 cards of your deck. So if you have both of them in source, you can literally just stack. If you don't have Iron Mako, if you're not playing Iron Mako to play around, you know, the new Hunters deck, because you just saw the removal of being put underneath a Tamer, you can still like stack your security and mill certain things, which is pretty nice. The other level 4 that we run as a 4 of is Wizardmon X. So obviously you primarily want to evolve this on top of a Wizardmon, but it's when digivolving is trash top 2 cards of your deck. So even if you have to just evolve into it because you don't have a Wizardmon, that's still a good effect. If its Digimon has Wizardmon or X antibody in its Digivolution cards, this Digimon gains blocker until the end of your opponent's turn. Instead, you have that's like really fun because you actually have a few cool plays where you can use this card with the starter deck Balmon, and we'll go over the starter deck Balmon in a minute. But he has an on deletion effect that lets you play a Buildsmon from the trash if he gets deleted. So you can force your opponent kind of to swing at you and just block it and play out a level 6 for free, which is pretty fun. So the blocker is not too bad, especially with like decks that are doing a lot of chip damage like Hunters. So it's pretty interesting. And then it has the inherit rule when attacking, trash the top 2 cards of your deck. Again, it works with the Wizardmon, so you don't necessarily need Iron Mako to stack your security and then trash 2. And it's just really good for going like milling a lot in the earlier turns. For the level 5s, we only have 5 level 5s. So we have Balmon and we have Balmon X. Balmon, this card is from the start deck. It's really, really good. It trashes the top 3 cards in your deck when digivolving, and when digivolving, if you have 10 cards or more in your trash, it gains on deletion. Play a Buildsmon from your trash without paying the cost until the end of your opponent's turn. So again, if you can make it into a blocker, like you really put your opponent into a tough situation, unless they're able to kill the Balmon and then the Buildsmon you play out after, it can be really annoying for them. And then the inheritable is just DP gain, so you can, if you ever need to get bigger than something on your opponent's side of the board, you get this +2 and you get the +3 from the M1 from EX2, so you're able to get +5k, which is better than a lot of decks are able to. And that means you can literally make your blast mode 19k. I don't think there's many things that blocker wise are going to be bigger than 19. Obviously there's situations where stuff gets really weird, but you should be fine on a 19k swing 9 times out. Like, I'd say even more, 9 times out of 10, like 10 times out of 10. So we have that new Balmon X antibody. This card is just meh, like it's okay. When digivolving, returns 1 X antibody from your trash to your hand. So this makes X antibody able to throw away with the new Impmon. So you can use Impmon to trash X antibody because you know you can use Balmon to get it back later. It's not really like a and be all end all if you don't have X antibody that's in your trash. And then when digivolving, trash the top 3 cards of your deck. Again, great. Like at least you have a mill effect. Worst case scenario, if you don't have the Balmon and you just have Balmon X, you're still getting the mill. And then if this Digimon has Balmon or X antibody in its Digivolution cards, delete one of your opponent's level 4 lower Digimon instead. Great for deleting blockers, great for deleting floodgates. That's exactly what you want with this deck, because it's aggro and it gains a lot of memory, so you want to be able to get rid of your opponent's stuff that is stopping you from just comboing off. And then it has the inheritable if it has Wizard or Demon Lord in its traits, it gets plus 2k. So you could potentially now move from what was a maximum of 19k up to 21, which is like disgusting. I don't think you'll ever have to worry about a 21k swing. So in worst case scenario, at least you have these options in there for you to be able to build up the DP that you need to with your deck. We'll go over the level 6s now. We'll go over from oldest to newest. So EX2 Bilzamon. This card has always been good, and it just continues to shine even more in this deck. It's one of the most important cards of this deck. I would argue that this is a 4-0. That's non-negotiable. You being able to play Impmons out for free just incredibly puts pressure onto your opponent. You're just able to swing, oh it died, and then just play out like potentially one extra Impmon if you're really lucky, or if you stacked your security in a certain way. I mean, not security, stacked your deck, the top of your deck in a certain way. You're able to just play out multiple Impmon for free, which is like super good. One thing dying and playing out 2 bodies is really reminiscent of the Eismon package when it wasn't banned, so it is very strong. And then when attacking and when digivolving, sometimes this actually really comes up, and sometimes you want to use your starter deck Impmon to warp into this to be able to clear board, because if you can keep it your turn, notice that it doesn't say once per turn as well. Like you can basically, when digivolve, kill something on the board by trashing top 2 cards of your deck, and then you have a deletion effect that gets more powerful for every 10 cards you have in trash. So it starts at level 3, when you have 20 cards level 4, when you have 30 cards level 4. When you have 10, sorry, my bad. When you have 10 cards in trash, it's level 4, when you have 20 it's level 5, when you have 30 it's level 6. In like endgame, this card can be really strong for just clearing up board. Really strong. And you can, like, if you can keep it your turn, you can potentially take out 2 of your opponent's level 6s in the late game, which is just such a big effect. But a lot of the time I'm using, like, the way I find this card most useful is literally in conjunction with Iron Mako, to put it on top of my deck to mill myself and play out another Impmon to just keep applying pressure to my opponent. You really just want to not let your opponent breathe when you play this deck, because you're weirdly, like, you're putting your opponent on a timer with getting to 20 cards in trash, but also you're on a timer because if you mill yourself out too quickly, you just lose the game. So you have to be really careful with how you play this deck sometimes. Then we have the Bilzamon from the start deck. This card is really cool. When digivolving, trashing the top 4 cards of my deck. When a card is trashed from deck, gain a memory for every 10 cards in your trash. So it's basically got Jack Raid built inside of it, which is pretty sick. And then when a card is trashed from your deck, this Digimon gains +1 security for the turn. So this helps facilitate the OTK. You should have at least chipped 1 security before you start going into security with an Impmon. So this Bilzamon is actually, like, with the new Bilzamon X as well, you can potentially just clear out your opponent's entire security in 1 turn with the start deck Impmon, but we'll talk about that combo in a minute. But this is just a really good card. I think 2 of it's fine, because you have recursion, you're able to take it out from the trash back to hand. I think it's fine like that. And then we have the new Bilzamon X. This card is what really makes this deck a tier 1 deck. and it really helps with a lot of like. We have a lot of hunters in this format. We're probably going to see a lot of cross heart in this format, and you don't really want to attack into your opponent's security too early because you might play out tamers that are beneficial to them. This card lets you, when you digivolve, and it has Bills 1 or X antibody in its digivolution cards, for every 10 cards in your opponent's in your trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. So if you have 20, that's 2 cards that are getting trashed. If you have 30, that's 3 cards that's getting trashed. And when a card is trashed from security, it doesn't activate the security effect. So this can really help you crush decks that work around a lot of tamers like Hunters does. And then on deletion, you may play an Imp 1 in its name from your trash without paying its memory cost. Again, probably the likely target for this effect is probably going to be the start deck Imp 1, so you can just pretty much go ahead and do it all again and just get back up into a Bills 1 out of nowhere. And then we'll talk about the last Digimon card that's actually a Digimon in this deck, and then we'll talk about some combos after we've gone through the rest of it. So Blast Mode. When this card is trashed from your deck, delete one of your opponent's level 3 or lower Digimon. So sometimes you actually are okay or purposely trashing your Blast Modes to get rid of your opponent's stuff. This has the exact same thing as EX2 Bilzamon in terms of like what it can delete based on how much you have in trash. It's really good at deleting floodgates, it's really good at deleting blockers, it's really good at even deleting level 6s late game if you need to, because you can basically do it for free if you mill yourself. When digivolving, unsuspend this Digimon. If you have 20 more cards in your trash, gain free memory back. So usually you never evolve into this unless you have 20 in your trash already, and this is a 1 cost unsuspend. So as we were talking about with the start deck Bilzamon, you can get the security +1. You can pretty much, and if you can go into Bilzamon X in that same turn, you can trash 3 of your opponent's security, swing for 2, evo into this, restand, and swing for game. So it's really good at facilitating the OTK. We'll go over the option cards now. We'll go over the one that everyone probably knows, which is X Antibody. I'm only running one of this in the deck. It's not really necessary for you to run this card at all. This card is just hair at the moment. I might not even really run this when I fully test the deck. It's just hair for a really funny combo that we'll go over in a minute. But it also, a lot of your card effects, if you're missing a part of the card that you can't digivolve underneath, you can attach an X Antibody to get some of the other effects, so it helps with a bit of flexibility. And it's just an option card that you don't mind trashing off of the M1X because you can you can potentially get it back with the new Balmon X as well. Speaking of option cards that you don't mind trashing, we have the new 7th full cluster option card. When your Digimon digivolves into Bilzamon X, by returning this card from your trash to the bottom of your deck, delete your opponent's Digimon with the lowest level. And then, so this card actually activates from trash, which is really cracked. So if you mill it, you don't really care. If you use it with Imp 1X, that's perfect because that's exactly what it's designed to be doing. And then you get to not only evo into Bilzamon X and trash your opponent's security, which is crazy enough as it is, you could potentially just board wipe or kill the highest thing if you've already killed and milled, for example, blast modes to kill stuff on the field, or used EX2 Bilzamon to kill stuff on the field. You can just help control your this card helps you control your opponent's board, and it's just really useful just to be able to pop something like for free basically, because it's in the trash. We haven't had an effect like this before in Digimon, and it's really awesome that we have this effect. Now if you're going to play it from hand, its main effect is delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest level, so it's the same thing as the effect that activates from trash, and then its security effect does the same thing as well. So it's really good at getting rid of even annoying floodgates if you need to. I know that sounds a bit crazy using like a 7 cost to do that. You'd never use it from your hand, hopefully. You mostly want to use it from your trash, but
And ideally, if you see it in your hand, it's one of the first things you put on top of your deck with Iron Echo,
Yeah.
just to get it into the trash.
I think this is best use with that M1X because you just trash an option card that you want to be in the trash and then just take something. You basically just use Deathclaw. I mean, not Deathclaw.
Yeah.
Cooling from Darkness, basically cooling. So, we'll go over some of the removal cards that this deck runs. So you have 4 Deathsling. I think 4 Deathsling is really strong. Not only does it gain a memory when it's milled, but its deletion effect works a bit better than EX2 Buildsmon and Blast Mode, because it already starts from level 4, and then for every 10 cards in your trash, add 1 to the maximum level that you can choose to delete with this effect. So instead of needing 30 in trash to kill level 6, you only need 20 with this card, which is really good. 4 cost to kill as level 6 is disgusting. 4 cost to kill Floodgate is reasonable, so you really don't even mind this card just using it for its base effect, or for using it to kill level 6s, level 7s, if even is really even possible, to be honest. And then it being in security is a good security bomb. It being in deck and being milled, it gains you memory. I just don't see why you wouldn't run 4 of this card. It's just really, really good. You have Rivals Barrage as well, so this is the last option card, I think. Yeah, I think this is the last option card that we're running. When this card is trashed by your deck, a lot of people confuse this card and they think it works like a memory boost. If you play it for 7, you don't get the delay effect. It's only if you mill the card that you get the delay effect, which lets you trash it and take a purple Digimon or Tamer back from your trash to your hand. This is really good. We love recursion. You really potentially you could even run 4 of this card. I wouldn't say it's incorrect. I'm only testing 2 at the moment because I have some recursion from the new Imp1 and the BT12 Imp1 as well. So I'm just trying it out. I might even try out cooling in this deck at some point, because you can use it to even pop a mill Imp1 that you have on the field, as long as you've already got some trash set up. It wouldn't be the end of the world to do that.
Could also use cooling to pop the Balmon that you've just given the on deletion effect.
Yeah.
You want to be really sneaky.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, realistically, that's just a 1 cost Evo into Buildsmon.
Yeah, you can't think, but it's now a threat on the board.
Yeah, you can't swing that turn, but exactly, it's a threat on the board. So, and then the last card that I want to talk about is Iron Mako. Iron Mako, I'm running 4 off because not only does it have a really, really good search, it also has one of the most broken effects in the game, which lets you stack your deck for mill effects to happen. So you don't have to just get lucky. You can design how you want your mill to work out for you. And then when you actually tap Iron Mako to use it, so when you Evo into a Digimon, it can be any Digimon, as long as it's a purple Digimon. You can suspend this Tamer to add 1 card from your hand on top of your deck to gain a memory. So this card already is reducing pretty much all of your Evo cost by 1, which is ridiculous. And then they stack as well, which is even better. But you could potentially put whatever you could potentially put removal on top of your deck to mill. You could potentially put out an EX2 Buildsmon, so you can play out another Digimon for free, which is an Imp. Well, it have to be an Imp1, but an Imp1 for free. Also, I wanted to just quickly say as well, we're only running 2 Imp1X because Buildsmon actually can't play out Imp1X from its trash, because it specifically says Imp1 in the name. It doesn't say any card with Imp1 in its name, it just says Imp1 in brackets, so you can't actually play out an Imp1X. So that's why we have 15, because you still have 13 targets with that card to play out, which is like average numbers. Almost a lot of meta decks are running 13 rookies nowadays that are more linear as well. So But back onto Iron Mako, because you have so much search, you don't necessarily need as much recursion as well. So because you'll be able to specifically take a level 4 if you need it, specifically take a level 5 if you need it. You can pretty much search anything in your deck. That's a Digimon wise. And then like you putting cards back on your deck to mill also helps you not deck out as fast as well, which I think is actually really, really important. Because if a lot of trouble with Billsmon is you can burn through all your deck too quickly, and you find yourself in a position where you don't have exactly what you want in hand to be able to finish the game. So I think Iron Mako slowing, in a weird way, it slows down how much you're putting in your trash. But I think that's important as well, because you get to design what you put in on top of your deck, but also it helps you be a bit more loose with your plays, because you know that you're not on such a timer of deck out versus your opponent. So I think Iron Mako is really not slept on, but I do think it's a 4 of. But up to you. Again, everyone will make their own choices. There's a that could be a flexi spot. I think 3 Iron Mako is not necessarily incorrect either, but you could potentially run like another Rivals Barrage or Cooling. So again, this is just my first draft of this deck. It'll probably change a decent amount from one after testing. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it looks, and I'm really happy with how Billsmon's looking to be in BT12. I think it's either out of this deck and Hunters being best deck in format. I don't think it can really be disputed by any other decks. It's just really powerful, and that's pretty much it. Frank, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I think you pretty much covered all of it there, man.
Yeah, I just think BT12 is going to be exciting now. I think there's going to be a lot of there'll be so many tier 1.5 decks that can just come out of nowhere and surprise you. I think Red Wall Grey and even Black Wall Grey and Crossheart are still going to be very strong decks going into this format. But I like to play with the new stuff, and I think Frank does as well. So that's why we are probably going to main these 2 decks. I'm probably going to main Billsmon, Frank's probably going to main Hunters. But we're really excited to get into the next format. Unfortunately, it's delayed for the UK, but we're going to start proxying early, and hope everyone who gets their cards on time enjoys them and gets good pulls. So I'll probably end the video here. The next video should hopefully be a Digimon podcast with a few more people from our team, and we'll cover some interesting topics. But thank you for watching, and hopefully you stick around and check out other videos we make. Frank, you got anything you'd like to say?
Thanks for watching.
Okay.
See you guys at the next tournament.
Yeah, see you guys later. Bye.